Hi, Robert and Lisa. Thanks for coming in and meet with me again today. I wanted to cover a couple of questions that Robert had asked me last time we met and just make sure you understand the answer. So, first of all, Robert asked me to explain what would Lisa's IRA distribution options and requirements be in the event of Robert's death. So, I want to look at this first with the traditional IRA. And first, if Robert is not 70 and a half when he passes. So if he's not 70 and a half, Lisa's going to have four options. The first option is going to be that she can take the balance in that traditional IRA and move it into an IRA in her name. It's called a spousal transfer. She basically is just treating that account as if it was her own. And in doing so, she basically puts that money into an IRA in her name. And then as long as she is over the age of 59 and a half, she can take distributions whenever she likes. The money she takes out is taxed as regular income. If she's under the age of 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty for any distributions. Given the amount of cash and other assets you guys have, even if Robert were to pass away here in the short term before Lisa turns 59 and a half, I probably would still recommend we use this option one. So I'll explain that in a second. So once the money's in that IRA and Lisa turns 70 and a half, she has what's called a required minimum distribution. So let's say she turned 70 and a half in 2017. So by April 15th of 2018, she would need to take a distribution. The distribution is going to be based on her life expectancy, and it's going to be the account balance as of the previous year. So what they're going to do is they're going to say the account balance as of the end of 2017. December 31st of 2016. They're going to divide the account balance by Lisa's life expectancy, and she's going to be required to take that quantity out by April 15th of 2018. And then, from then on out, it's going to be within the calendar year. So in 2018, she would also be required to take a required minimum distribution. It would be the account balance at the end of 2017 divided by Lisa's life expectancy. And she can take that first distribution in either 2017 or 2018 if she had turned 70 and a half. It's a little complicated. The way that works, the reason that works that way is that the IRS is saying, you contributed money to this retirement account, this 401k, this pre-tax retirement account. And when you did that, you got a tax deduction. Your income was dropped dollar for every dollar you put into it. And so they didn't collect tax. But the IRS wants their tax, right? And so they say, now that you have turned 70 and a half, we're going to collect our tax. So that money that you contributed, it's grown tax deferred. It's hopefully, you've seen some nice compounding over the years. And then it comes out and it's taxed as regular income. And they force you to take the distribution so that they can collect the tax. So that's option one, rolling it into Lisa's name. Option two is you can roll it into an inherited IRA. So if you move it into an inherited IRA, in this instance, required minimum distributions begin no later than the December 31st of the year Robert would have turned 70 and a half. Okay? And those distributions would be determined by Lisa's life expectancy. So we would take the account balance at the end of the previous year divided by Lisa's life expectancy. Okay? The benefit of an inherited IRA really comes into play if Lisa's not 59 and a half when Robert passes, if money is needed right away and you want to avoid the 10% penalty prior to Lisa turning 59 and a half. If that's the case, moving it into an inherited IRA allows you to avoid that. If it's not the case, if you don't need it, putting it into an IRA in Lisa's name delays the required distributions, which is typically what we like. We want more time and choice. Okay. Third option is you can have it's called a 5-year method. You basically stretch out distributions over a 5-year period, but after that 5 years are up, you have to have taken all of the money out. I don't typically recommend that. Usually recommend the stretch option because, again, you have more options. And the stretch option is the second there where it's based on Lisa's life expectancy. Stretch it out over her life expectancy. And then the fourth option would be to take a lump sum. So as with all of these, the money would come out, and when it comes out, it would be taxed as regular income. So usually I don't recommend a lump sum unless it's absolutely necessary because you're going to have a big chunk of income in that year, which can kick you into a higher tax bracket and cause other taxes. Okay. So let's take, again, the traditional IRA in the instance that Robert is 70 and a half or older when he passes away. So if that happens, Lisa still has the first option in the last example. She can move it into an IRA in her name. She can effectively treat it as her own and delay those distributions until she's 70 and a half. Or she can move it into an inherited IRA. If she moves it into an inherited IRA, then RMDs are required, right? Because he has turned 70 and a half. So the requirement of distribution comes out. It's based on Lisa's life expectancy, the quantity is, and they continue until the account is depleted. And again, that's the stretch option. And then last is a lump sum. She can also take a lump sum if he passes after 70 and a half. So that's the traditional IRA. The Roth IRA is a little bit different. So Roth IRAs have a few really nice characteristics to them. One is that they go in after tax, so you pay the tax up front, but then they're not taxed again. According to the current tax law, and they can change this, but according to the current tax law, you could contribute $5,000 to a Roth IRA and have that money grow to $1 million. Take it out and pay zero tax. The next time you would pay taxes, like you pay sales tax, or you invest it in something else and you make a capital gain or some income or something. So Roths are kind of magical in that way. So typically, as a result of that, we want Roth money to stay in there and kind of continue to accumulate returns for as long as possible. It's often the money that we touch last because it has tax-free growth, and that's one of the only things out there that we can offer for you in that realm, or tax-free growth. So the options are basically the same options as we had with the first set when Robert is under the age of 70 and a half, because Roth IRAs also don't have an RMD. The IRS does not require distributions. They require distributions if it's inherited, though. So first option, she can move that IRA into her name. Second option, she can take an inherited IRA. And when she does an inherited IRA, she has three options with it. So the first is she can do the life expectancy method that we discussed previously. By the year December 31st of the year that Robert turns 70 and a half, she has to take a distribution. That distribution is based on Lisa's life expectancy. Okay? Same as the second scenario of the traditional IRA we discussed a moment ago. The third option is that she can utilize the 5-year method where she depletes the account in 5 years. And then the final option is that she can take a lump sum distribution. Again, in all of those instances with the Roth, there's no income tax. The only instance in where there is a tax is actually a penalty for Lisa is if Robert passes away young and Lisa's still under the age of 59 and a half. If that happens, if you need the money, again, we would move it into an inherited IRA, because the inherited IRA you can take distributions from without the penalty. If you didn't need the money, we'd put it in into an IRA in Lisa's name. If she did take a distribution, there'd be a 10% penalty prior to age 15 and a half. After age 15 and a half, you're fine. So, sorry, that was a little complicated. Basically, if this were to happen, we would look at Lisa's situation and make a decision on what would be most appropriate for her situation. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention regarding Roth IRAs is that Robert's account is currently invested in very conservative bonds. And as I said a second ago, Roth IRAs have this tax-free growth. And so one of my recommendations is going to be to reallocate the Roth IRA and move towards stocks. If we expect the stock market to make 10%, as we discussed last meeting, over the coming years, it would make complete sense to me to be invested in the S&P or in something that can give you a more substantial return. Over a longer period of time, we have more, at least historical confidence based on history, that stocks will outperform bonds. And as such, with a 30-year time horizon for your financial plan, investing in stocks makes sense to me. So, and I'll dig into that a little bit more detail a little bit later, and I'll also include all the detail of what I've just described to you in your follow-up email and documentation afterwards. So, we'll move on to another topic, though. Thank you.